Good afternoon. Happy Championship Sunday. Go Eagles. Right now, we're going to bring you the reveal of the District 1 Duels bracket here for the 2018 season. And we're going to start things off by going with the seeds, starting from 16 going down to 1. We're going to talk about the bracket, the matchups, locations, and times for this Thursday's first round. And, give you a little prediction here on how the bracket, in my opinion, does unfold. I'm without my partner in crime this year, Glenn Kaiser. Glenn, enjoy the game. He's down in Philadelphia, the link right now after a seating meeting. So, he's out there having some fun, and, we'll finish this up and I'll watch at home. So, without any further ado, we're going to get to the reveal of the bracket. And here we go. You see it up on the screen there. You don't have to look at me too much today, which is nice. And we'll go with the 16 seed, Methacton out of Pac-10 with a record of 9-8. Having a little bit of trouble right now as of late, battling some injuries, are a little banged up, coming off maybe 5 or 6 losses in a row. But yet the committee felt they had the resume to go in. Before going further, there were a few teams that had resumes that probably would have got them into the duels, but they did pull out as of this morning. There was an addition to the application process this morning that ended up getting in. We'll get to them in a little bit. The 15 seed out of the Suburban 1 Conference, Hatboro Horsham Hatters. Glenn got his wish and got in, another run at a District Duels title. And then we go down to the 14 seed, Perk Valley Vikings. Comes in a record of 5-8 out of the pack. Again, teams come on late. Solid team, top to bottom. Kind of hard to gauge them as a former opponent. Haven't wrestled a very high level competition yet. They've wrestled O&J, and they're coming up on wrestling Springford. So we'll get to see really what they have, and we'll talk more about their placement coming up in the bracket a little bit later. 13 seed out of the Chestmont. We have Great Valley, record of 17-3. Team, again, you don't hear a whole lot about, quietly with a 17-3 record. Again, they'll have the opportunity to show themselves, show what they're about, when it gets to the time, when the rubber meets the road on Thursday. 12 seed, out of another team out of Chestmont, Westchester Vikings, a team that we've had a chance to cover the last few years. John Gallo, coach there. Team I do like. I think they have a solid team. I think they're still trying to put the pieces together to perform consistently, match in and match out. They get good effort out of a lot of guys, but they can put their whole team together. They're a team that possibly can pull an upset here. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but again, it's getting them there. So again, like I said, I'm definitely a fan of that team. I want to see them put it together because there's something that the pieces are in place. 11 seed out of the Suburban 1, we have Quakertown, team that we got to cover twice this year. Team that, after seeing them the first time, losing that tough match to Penridge, and then, the second match this time against Hatboro, and that was real impressive. Real youth movement there in Quakertown, and, really looking forward to seeing, as the 11th seed, see what they can do. And, again, not saying they were going to win and go on a run here, but it's, again, a good experience for that young team for years to come for Kurt Handel and his staff and program. We got on the 10 seed, Westchester Ruston, 8-1. Now, they're 8-1, and they just got back Colin Hurley, returning state qualifier. So it's been pretty interesting to see just how things go with them. And they're kind of an enigma, too, because now there's a little bit of a logjam. And Mike and I talked off camera, and, you have a lot of guys got a lot of time because Colin Hurley wasn't there. And now what happens now that he's back? And it'd be interesting to see what Brad Harkins and his staff does with that situation. Something I'm definitely be looking to monitor as we go forward. But probably be a bump, and they'll probably cover somewhere up in upper weight with one of the guys that has gotten a lot of experience this year. Maybe Ethan Harkins makes the move up. I don't know. I'm just speculating and spitballing here. We move down to the 9 seed. We have North Penn out of the Suburban 1, record 9-4. And again, North Penn, this seems like year in and year out, just kind of in and around where they land, and a team that is solid. A lot of good wrestlers, state qualifier caliber wrestlers, and coming into 9 seed, they're right in the middle of the pack, and again, they're going to be an opportunity to win possibly a match, maybe 2 here in the duels, and after that, it just comes down to matchups, and who knows. So we go down to 8 seed, top 8 here. Westchester Henderson coming in with a record of 11-1, and this is another team that is Rob Bailey's been building down there, and had Henderson now for a few years, and you're starting to see it. Last year they got I wouldn't say a bad seed. I think they received it appropriate last year, but they hit a tough Garnet Valley team, and Garland went kind of on a run there in the duels last year. Buzzsawed O&J in the second day of the district duels, the Friday. And I don't think anyone saw it coming in and, kind of stumbled the second day. But, Bagley's now in a position with his team and the experience they have after last year and all the wrestling they do in the off season to, maybe this is the year that they're able to put together for more than just a one and done. Number 7 seed, a team that I don't think any of us saw at the beginning of the season, this team being here, but they put together quite a season. That's Neshaminy out of the Suburban 1. 10-4 in the season. Some nice solid wins. I just think that this is a team that put the work in, and as a result now has something to show for. Top 7 seed in the district duels, in a season where they weren't expected to do a whole lot. So that, that's a positive thing to see coming from Neshaminy. So going to 6. We have out of the pack, O&J Roberts at 10-2, and I know some people that maybe haven't heard yet might be scratching your head. And I wasn't there for the seeding meeting. I don't know what was said, and I can only speculate. I know you probably went off past record and who they've lost to so far this year, but their 2 losses are Liberty, who won the Bear Duels in that opening weekend of the season, and they lost to Boyertown in a 3-4 match. So one would think conventional wisdom is that they'd have to be seated below Boyertown, which again, is totally understandable. And so, I don't know if they're properly seated here, but again, I'll probably be accused of having O&J bias on that one, but it's just my opinion, and you can choose to mute it or not watch. So we go to the 5 seed. And, this was my and Glenn's both preseason number 1, Council Rock North. And now they've endured some issues, injuries, guys that aren't in the lineup anymore. And, so I think 5 is an appropriate seed for them. I think we're going to be somewhere in the top 6. Glenn, Mike, and I all talked off camera last night before and after the the Pottsboro Pottstown match. Mike and I talked a little bit today, and I think they're appropriately seated. But again, they're getting healthy, and I know Glenn and I alluded to it in the broadcast at Rock South on Thursday night that if they get healthy, it's not out of their own possibility to be that team that they were expected to be. It's going to take a little bit. I mean, they got some, like I said, they have some issues, but at this point of the season, there's not a whole lot of teams that don't have something going on. Someone's banged up, mentally not all there. So they're a dangerous team at 5, just as much as O&J is dangerous at 6. And so we go down to 4. And again, they're pack school here and pack flexing their muscle here. This is the 4th team that's now gotten in. And you have Boyertown at 10-2 on the season. And they're again, I think appropriately seated. They're a solid team. They obviously don't have the guns that they've had in years past, last year, year before that, but they're dangerous nonetheless. And at the 4, they're going to make some noise here in this tournament. And it's going to be fun to watch. You said they have Elijah Jones. Zach Reck has come back and had a great senior season. Jacob Miller, guys that those last 2 guys that you again didn't expect to be where they're at, and then they're just solid all the way through. You got some guys with losing records, but they're wrestling top competition, and they're not like they're not 1-20 under 500 records. They're 7-10, 12-11 or 12-13, things like that. They're right there, hanging with tough guys and winning matches. So they're going to be dangerous at 4. Brings us to our 3 seed. You probably start to guess where we're going from here. We're going Springford 12-2. Again, I think in my opinion, after 1 and 2. Anywhere 3 through 6, you could have drawn out of a hat and put them in there, and people would have probably agreed with it. You're obviously going to have the naysayers. You're going to have people say, Springford doesn't deserve to be there. Again, I did say O&J was probably underseeded at 6, but you can't argue everyone's resume. If Springford's at 6, I'd probably be saying the same thing, that they didn't belong at 6. So I think regardless of where these 4 teams landed, there's going to be discussion nonetheless. And just like, not to rehash the things on the forum, but the rankings, it's all going to sort itself out on the mat. That's the thing that everyone needs to realize. Rankings are great, the seedings are great, but at the end of the day, it's going to sort itself out when everyone has a chance to lace them up and go out and actually wrestle. So Springford again is our 3 seed, our 2 seed out of Chestmont, Downtown West, with a record of 12-1. Their lone loss coming yesterday to Malvern. Malvern Prep, for those who don't know, private school. Again, they won some matches. They were competitive, but overall they've been real tough this year. Beat a tough Strasbourg team earlier this year, or yesterday before wrestling Malvern. And again, Brad Breeze and his staff down there have done a phenomenal job, bringing this program along. And they're really reaping the benefits of it right now. And again, they're a team that's again, a hole here or there, but a lot of solid wrestlers. Returning state champ Doug Zaff, returning state qualifier Nick Lilly, Jesse Cook, Chase Milnick, the Hale brothers. There's a lot of guys you can name that are tough on that team and that are going to go out and compete, match in and match out. And then you have the guys that aren't as highly regarded as them. Mark Riccardi and comes to mind. Watching him wrestle last year in District Duels, and again, tough kid. And then it brings us to none other than our 1 seed, which you can already know, Council Rock South out of Suburban 1. They're 6-2 on the year. Again, we just talked with Brad Sill and Perry. We saw them wrestle against Rock North, and they're pumping on all cylinders up there at Rock South. And their next man up mentality has been covered by us, and it was on full display the other night. And they're prepared and poised for another run in the state duels. And again, they're not. And this comes after the year where they graduated a ton of hammers, and even Brad even alluded to that on camera the other night in our interview. If you haven't seen it, take a look back and watch it. He's very candid and transparent when he talks about what they lost and where they're going. And he just mentioned that it's guys that got when injuries happened last year, guys that got experience are now the guys that are not necessarily their hammers, but they're guys that are going out and winning matches and winning tough matches and being tough outs for their opponents. So there you have it, our 16 through 1 seeds. We're gonna now throw the bracket up, or throw each quarter of the bracket up, starting from top to bottom. We're gonna talk about times, location, and then we'll talk a little bit about predictions there. So as we come up here, we see first round this Thursday, January 25th, at Council Rock South High School at 7 o'clock. Council Rock South will wrestle Methacton in that 1-16 matchup, and in the 5:30, there'll be 2 matches going on at once, and we'll get to the other 2 in a second. And the other the 5:30 match will be Westchester Henderson North Penn. So I'm not going to go on a limb here and predict any monumental upset. Council Rock South wins easily over Methacton. Again, Methacton is they're struggling a little bit right now. They'll have to be there. It'll be an extra match for their guys. It'll be an extra match for their tough guys that have big postseason aspirations. Your Mosers and Blakemore, McNair, and Morbido, some of the guys that Methacton have are pretty tough that use that competition as a measuring stick for where they need to be as the postseason looms over us and less than a month away. And then that Westchester Henderson North Penn match. For as much as I want to pick North Penn, because I believe in what they do up there, Coach Schetzline and Zach Freiling, but I just like what Westchester Henderson's done. I think Henderson gets the win. Bagley's talked numerous times about getting the district duels last year and this year, and about being able to wrestle the teams up north. And last year he drew, I believe it was Garner Valley, and didn't go so well for him. And now he gets a team from up north, as he put it. And he'll have the opportunity to prove it. And I think when push comes to shove, I think this Henderson team gets the win and gets in that second round, and then gets more than one match out of district duels this year. So we go down to the next that bracket, and the other 7 o'clock match will be Council Rock North, the 5 seed, at 7 o'clock at Council Rock South against the 12 seed Westchester East. And the one of the 7 o'clock matches you can see there, first round matchup, is Great Valley and Boyertown. Again, talked about what I like about John Gallo and his team at Westchester East, but I don't think even if they put it together, they have enough bullets in the gun to take down Council Rock North at this time. If you still, for all the pieces they have, there's still some that are missing. I think look at the first round matchup, a 7 o'clock matchup between Great Valley and Boyertown. Again, Great Valley, great season, no pun intended, and they drop Boyertown in the first round, and again, Boyertown's going to be too solid for them. We talk about just level competition, and Boyertown's battle tested despite what their records say. With all those guys that are around 500 records, to have a team that's 10-2, that's got to tell you something. So there you have you got Boyertown advancing on into the quarterfinals to face Rock North, and more on that. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Then we go down to the bottom half of the bracket, the 3-14 and the 6-11. We have Springford, Perk Valley. To my knowledge, I believe they wrestle this Wednesday, and they're going to turn around and wrestle again on Thursday night. League match on Wednesday, turn around and wrestle again on Thursday night. You could wrestle this match 100 times, and Springford's going to win it all 100. It's just the way it is. They're a superior program and team to Perk Valley, top to bottom. And Perk Valley again, team that applied and probably looked like a long shot on paper, and or it was a long shot look when you just heard them enter in. But then you scratch the surface, and you look at the resume, and it's warranted there to be that 14 seed given what was left after the teams that backed out. So again, Perk Valley, congrats on making it, but you're going one and done. Quakertown and O&J is an intriguing matchup because we talked about a little bit with Kurt Handel and his team and youth movement there. O&J is not too old themselves. They do a few seniors in their lineup, but not a whole lot for the most part. They're young. A lot of sophomores and juniors make up a majority of their better kids in their lineup. Quakertown again, happy to be there. Will draw on this experience for all these young sophomores and juniors they have, and use it for their run that they'll potentially be poised to make next year if all goes well. Like this year, I got O&J beating Quakertown, setting up a match with Springford in the quarters. We're dropping the last half of the bracket here, and we have the Neshaminy and Ruston and Hatboro and Downingtown West. And I want to talk about Hatboro West first, and I'll come back to Neshaminy and Ruston because I think that's might be the premier matchup of the first round. When it's all said and done. But Hatboro, Downingtown West, and Hatboro have to be there 5-6 on the year. Downingtown West is on another level. Hatboro is going one and done on this year as a result. Just inconsistencies and just Downingtown West is just a good team. I mean, any way you slice it, again, it's one of those things you wrestled 100 times, it's going to be 100 wins for Downingtown West. Going back to Neshaminy and Westchester Ruston. So Ruston 8-1 on the year, Neshaminy 10-4, Suburban 1, Chestmont. You can throw all those things out there. This Ruston team is another. These Westchester teams, their talent's diluted between 3 schools, and to have all 3 in the duels, really says something about the amount of talent in Westchester School District. And I think that was something that was kind of lost on it for me personally this season. And, we talked off camera yesterday, we were at the Sunnybrook Ballroom. And I kind of just casually said to Glenn and Mike, I said, do you really think all 3 Westchesters have a chance to get in? And, it's kind of was just like how it was left. And then I thought about it some more today. And before Mike, we got the bracket came out, and then you think about you combine these 3 schools into one team, and there's a lot of talent in that district. And like I said, it's diluted among 3 schools. So this Westchester Ruston team might be the best of the 3. They wrestled almost the whole season without Colin Hurley, and I talked about that when we did the reveal. They do have some. It's a good problem to have as far as depth goes, but they have a problem now with where these guys and the pieces and where they're going to fit into the grand scheme of things. And not to be lost on Neshaminy, but I just think Ruston now with Hurley back, they'll have one more weapon at their disposal. And again, I don't know if he's 100% all the way back, but he's back. And Colin Hurley at 85% is probably better than anyone else that Ruston was going to throw out to put their best lineup out there. In my opinion. So I'm taking Ruston in this one with probably the only upset of the first round. I'm in the 10-7 matchup, and everyone that follows NCAA basketball knows that vaunted 10-7 is that 7 seeds like a snake bite, and I'm going with that here as far as for Neshaminy, and please feel free to tell me if I'm wrong if it goes a different way. I just think that Ruston now with Hurley back is better team. So then, it leaves us with just talking about the bracket in general. And some of the quarterfinal matchups that I just talked about that I have are Rock South and Henderson, Rock North and Boyertown, Springford O&J, and Ruston and Downingtown West. And from there it's pretty easy. I don't like to put the carriage before the horse, but you can pencil Council Rock South into the final as far as I'm concerned. I just think that's where they're at, and that's where they're going to be. So that drops Henderson down into the wrestlebacks. I think Boyertown extracts revenge on Rock North. They said, I don't know, Rock North's all the way back yet. If they are, again, at that match, you can flip a coin on that one. But I think, Rock North won at the beginning of the season. I think now at this point, Boyertown has more solidified their lineup. With the 2-pound allowance and things like that. And I just think they're wrestling very well right now. Springford O&J is that premier matchup in the quarterfinal. And they don't wrestle their league duel until the week of state duels. Like Boyertown O&J wrestled this week, and I believe the following week, the week of district duels finals, Boyertown and Springford wrestle, and then the week after that is when Springford and O&J will wrestle, and those 3 matches are going to go a long way to figuring out the pack race. And so with that one, again, it comes down to matchups, it comes down to flip a coin, and you figure out what's going to happen. I think through the middle lineup, I think O&J is just way too tough for them. 82 through heavyweight for O&J is no secret. You look at what's been happening there, and it's definitely not their strong suit. And Springford does have some guys there that can wrestle. So it's one of those things where it comes down to matchups down low, and it comes down to performing. And I'm gonna take O&J on it. I don't know that I have them meeting up again later in the bracket, because I just think that they're those 2 teams that'll end up coming through. We go down to Westchester, Ruston, Downingtown West, and Downingtown West wins in that matchup of 2 Chessmont teams. We'll stay in the winners bracket here. Rock South, too much for Boyertown, and wins that one. Like I said, pencil them into the finals. And Downingtown West, too much for O&J. Kind of roles reversed from last year in that 3rd and 4th place match at district duels that won by O&J, 39, I believe 24. And so Rock South, again, I just think, again, my opinion, that Rock South is just a more solid team through the middle. There's a potential for a Hanson Ashworth Zapp match in there. Up top, Downingtown West is stronger at heavyweight, and I think 195. And then through the middle, it's going to be like a dogfight. I just think that those Rock South kids, this is what they work towards. And Downingtown West is just going to be like a step behind. It'll be a very competitive match. I just don't think at the end of the day that they have enough to run with them all 14 weight classes to pull out the win. And the rest of the backs, I'll just touch on them pretty quick. Henderson, Rock North, according to my bracket here, with Rock North winning a close one. Henderson going 1-2, but I think they give Rock North all they can handle in that match because of the consistency in the lineup that Henderson possesses. They don't have the studs that Rock North have per se, but they have enough guys that are consistent. They're going to go out and keep matches close and win tough ones. Springford and Westchester Ruston, they believe is a match that last year was won by Ruston. Roles reversed this year. Springford, a year older, year tougher, comes through and wins that one. And you have Boyertown, O&J and Rock North. I think O&J is able to win that match because of the consistency they provide through the middleweights. And the other consolation semifinal with Springford and Boyertown, again, they will have just wrestled the week of by this time. And again, you flip a coin, but I'm going to go with Springford. I think they're a tougher team on paper. I think when it comes down to it, you run the matchups, and they're it's a little bit in their favor. They bring a little bit more consistency, but they're gonna have to rely upon freshmen to do it. So that's kind of like the X factor. You're gonna throw out some guys, Jack McGill, probably Zach Needles, Joey Milano, guys that are still in the midst of this grind of their freshman year. And they're going to be guys that are relied upon to go out and win big matches. And they're going to react. Now, up to this point, again, I said in our preview show that I think those guys are their future is really bright here in District 1. I think they're going to be really good, and I think the potential is even there to be good this year and make noise, a lot of noise this season. But again, you don't know when you have to rely upon freshmen how they're going to react to it. Like I said, if I were their coach, I would be more than confident, probably relying on them. But just from a speculative standpoint, you just don't know. And it brings up the rematch of Springford and OJ for 3rd and 4th. To both of them already had punched their ticket to states. I think Springford wins the rematch, but I think it comes down to matchups. It comes down to the coin toss. It comes down to who's been able to maneuver and create the most favorable matchups for themselves. And like I said, it could be roles reversed. It could be Springford beating OJ in the quarters and then coming through like this. And both those teams are fighting tooth and nail for this, probably more so than the league championship match. A week later, I mean, they're more worried about getting the states and seeing what they can do because that's what it's about. It's about getting as far as you can in the postseason on the state level. So, there you have it. As I have it for representatives, Rock South 1st, Downtown West 2nd, Springford 3rd, and OJ 4th. Going into the state tournament for us. Again, this was not as easy as in years past. And it's going to be fun to see which team kind of has like an upstart here at this. Last year, like I said, Garnet Valley was tough all year, came out that first night in the quarters and, like I said, absolutely throttled OJ. And it was, they looked like they were poised to do stuff, to punch that ticket, get back to the States. And, it didn't work out for the Jaguars. So it's going to be interesting to see when the upsets happen. Like I said, if I have to circle an upset in the first round, I'm going Ruston over Neshaminy. And, that's all I got for tonight. I'm looking forward to this Thursday. This Wednesday, we're at Boyertown for a big pack tilt between Boyertown and OJ Roberts. It'll go, like I said, a long way to deciding that league title. The losers, probably not necessarily eliminated from contention, but it puts a big dent in their ability to do it. I could easily see all three of those teams finishing with one loss. They all beat each other and then go into the tiebreaker. So it'll be interesting to see, what just happens. I wouldn't put out of the realm of possibility that the champion of the pack does have a loss this year. And like you said, it all starts on Wednesday for that. And then Thursday, this all starts. So it's that fun time of the year where there's almost something every weekend and there's a lot on the line and high stakes wrestling. And this is what everyone's worked for this entire year. And this is, what the fans are excited for. And we're looking forward to bringing as much coverage as humanly possible in the next few weeks. So this is our bracket release show. Appreciate you tuning in. Feedback always welcome on the forum. Always, even good, bad, indifferent. Mo, Blood Young, if you ever want to come on, we put maybe an underdog mask on you and let you sit here and talk. More than happy to see you sitting here. And if not, totally understand. But everyone else, have a great day. Go Eagles. And, see you at the Super Bowl.